I've been coding for over 1,000 days, almost every single day, and let me tell you, there are so many things I wish I knew when I started. If I could go back in time, I'd definitely change how I approached learning to code. The truth is, the way I started was way harder than it had to be, and honestly, you're probably making the same mistakes without even realizing it. In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly what I would have done differently to save months of frustration and speed up my growth as a developer. Let's dive in. When I first started coding, it felt like I was stepping into a whole new world, one where everyone was speaking a language I didn't understand. It was overwhelming. I remember hearing terms like polymorphism, dependency injection, asynchronous programming, and instead of feeling more knowledgeable, it just left me more confused. I started questioning myself, thinking, do I really need to memorize all of this? Am I even cut out for coding? It felt like being handed a giant puzzle with no reference picture to guide me. Every time I googled something, the results just led to even more jargon. And let's be real, I believe we've all been there. The frustration of seeing code that works but not fully understanding why it works. But here's the thing I didn't realize at the time. Even experienced developers don't have everything memorized or fully understand everything. They Google things all the time, refer to documentation, or ask for help. That's a normal part of the process, and it doesn't make them any less skilled. The mistake I made, and one that I see a lot of beginners make, is thinking I needed to fully understand every single term before I could even start coding. But looking back, that's not how programming works at all. It's not about memorization, it's about learning through experience and gaining problem-solving skills over time. Instead of getting discouraged by trying to learn everything up front, I reached the point where I started to focus on learning by doing. At first, I didn't understand things like REST APIs or dependency injection, and that's okay if you don't understand everything either. But when I saw them in action, when I started building projects, making mistakes and experimenting, everything started to click. The pieces slowly started to fit together. And here's the key takeaway. Confusion is part of the process, especially in the beginning. You'll face this big, overwhelming start that you didn't expect. But I don't know anyone who hasn't gone through it. So just try to push through, especially at this point, practice and give it time to gain experience until you start filling in the gaps. Looking back, I can honestly say that programming is a tough game. It's a roller coaster of highs and lows, and it can feel like a constant battle. Some days I felt like I was leveling up, solving problems, making progress, and feeling pretty good about the work I was doing. I'd finish a task and feel like I was finally getting the hang of it. But other days I'd be stuck on a bug for hours, sometimes even longer, and I'd start questioning myself. I'd wonder, am I even good at this? It's easy to get discouraged when it feels like you're not moving forward. In those tough moments, I used to think that struggling meant I was failing. I thought the constant errors and roadblocks were signs that maybe this wasn't the path for me. But over time, I learned that every bug, every error message, every challenge, it's teaching you something important. It's not just a roadblock, it's a stepping stone. Whether it's debugging, understanding a framework more deeply, or learning a new way to approach a problem, each struggle is an opportunity to grow. The trick isn't avoiding mistakes, it's learning to embrace them as part of the process. In fact, the more mistakes you make, the more you learn. Back to my main point, programming is tough. What really separates the people who succeed from those who give up isn't talent, it's resilience. Programming isn't just about knowing how to write code, it's about having the mental strength to keep going when things get tough. The challenges you face are often just as much mental battles as they are technical ones. When I started treating every challenge as a lesson instead of a roadblock, my progress sped up. You should see them as chances to grow. Sure, some days were incredibly tough, long hours of frustration, feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere, but those tough days always led to breakthroughs. Those are the moments when you'll have your aha moments. The only way to get better is to keep going, even when it feels like you're not making any progress. Looking back, I see that pushing through the tough days led to the big wins. One of the biggest mistakes I made when starting out was overcomplicating my learning path. I kept jumping from from language to language, framework to framework, tutorial to tutorial, without really knowing where I was headed. I thought that the more languages and frameworks I learned, the better equipped I'd be. But instead of making progress, I felt like I was just spinning my wheels, learning a little bit about a lot of things but not truly mastering any of them. Things started to click only after I took a step back and asked myself, what do I actually want to build? Web applications, mobile apps, games? Once I figured that out, it became clear what tools I needed. I realized that all this time I had been learning things that weren't really helping me get closer to my goal. By narrowing my focus, I stopped wasting time and energy on topics that didn't align with my long-term objectives. I wasn't chasing every new trend or trying to be a jack of all trades. Instead, I could concentrate on what really mattered to my goals. The real challenge for me was filtering through all the information out there. The internet is full of resources, endless tutorials, guides, blog posts, and videos. But honestly, too much information is just as bad as not enough. If I could give you one tip, it would be this: find a structured learning path and stick with it. It's easy to get distracted by all the different resources out there, but consistency is important. Focus on one thing at a time. Break things down into manageable steps and keep moving forward. Even if it's just a little bit each day. Every small step adds up, and before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. It's better to be a really good at one thing than to know a little bit about everything. You can always expand your knowledge later, but having a solid foundation is what truly matters in the long run. If you're into web development but don't know where to start, I can tell you that C# and .NET could be the perfect fit for you. That's exactly what this channel is all about. I've created a free roadmap that shows you exactly what steps to take in the right order. No need to figure it out all by yourself. You can grab it by clicking the link below or going to .NETdeveloperroadmap.com. And if you want to dive deeper, I've also made a video walking you through the full roadmap, which should be on the screen right now, so just click on it and I'll see you there.